So, my friends, I am very whelmed. Not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, just whelmed at the end of Archdemon's Dilemma. One of the things that was called out this episode was like, it could take decades for Zagan and Nephy to kiss. And I really felt that in all of my bones. And like I said, although I can't say I was disappointed, but like to consider that this was the end of the season, it kind of feels like I don't even know, like it feels like, you know, like we got a bunch of like we drank a bunch of stuff, you know, like we got a bunch of alcohol, we took a bunch of shots, but then we're not drunk. It's like I got no more money. You know? Now I just gotta hang out being as sober as I want, maybe a little buzz, you know? And that's a very shitty metaphor. But you guys know what I mean? It's like I just feel like there was no payoff with this show. And I think that's my biggest concern. And don't get me wrong, it's very cute and it was very wholesome. And I do like the introduction of Raphael. I think his, you know, total 180 was very interesting. I like how Barbados ended up becoming Shastil's, you know, glorified babysitter. But, you know, I'm under, well, again, I'm whelmed, you know. I would have loved for the end of the episode, you know, I do think it was, you know, their dance was very cute and them looking into each other's eyes was very cute and all that other stuff. But I would have really loved like a time skip, like maybe give us like a 10-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 100-year, something. Give us like a big time skip at the end in the last 30 seconds and just show us like maybe them getting married, you know, or yeah, I think that would have done it for me. Maybe show me, you know, show me them getting married, you know, a year out, 5 years, 10 years, you know. And maybe, you know, give us an end with maybe Shastil is there as like, you know, the concubine, or maybe they're both wearing wedding dresses. Four's still little, maybe she's like the, you know, the flower girl or something, and Raphael's doing the sermon or whatever you call it. He's doing the, you know, the do you take thy whatever, and Barbados could be a best man, and Manuela can be a best girl or whatever they call it. You know, I think that would have been a really cool thing, but we got nothing. You know what I mean? Like we got Zagan fixing a old school record player, you know, and play music for the town kids, and then, you know, flashing back to him and Nephy dancing in the castle. And I'm like, again, it's all cute, and I think it is very wholesome and stuff. But as a reminder, right, the name of the show is I, the Demon Lord, took a slave elf as my wife. Okay, now that part never came. The wife part, you know, maybe in words or in unspoken words, but it never came. The other part of it is, you know, the other name of it, you know, that's the other name is, but I think it's I, the Demon Lord, took a slave elf as my wife, but how do I love her? The other synonym, you know, the other way that the title was said to us was an Archdemon's Dilemma, how to love your elf bride. But the bride part never came. And I don't think that this type of show, I think it does exist to sell books and to sell manga, or maybe the light novel, or even I think it's a light novel that it has, but it, you know, it's definitely, you know, promotional. I don't think it'll get cleared for a season 2. Again, I want to be wrong about that, but I don't know if it would get a season 2. I don't know if I would commit to another 12 episodes of slowness, knowing that my original investment never paid off. I actually lost money, you know? I guess that's how it feels like when you invest in something. You're like, oh, I actually lost money on it. I lost money on GameStop. I put money in it. I lost it all. I lost it all on the Bitcoin. I just don't feel like there's a payoff. And I think that's my big problem. with this episode. And then, as the show kind of came to a close, it started introducing these other things like a sage dragon and Four and Raphael, and at one point have Barbados being the bad guy, and it's like it started introducing all these things, but it's like I just wanted them just to focus in on an elf slave and a demon lord falling in love and getting a payoff for that, and I just feel like it didn't happen. So I'm a little saddened at that, and yeah, episode 12 was fine. It was a fine episode of the show. Like, it was a fine episode of the show, but then that's where it stops. It was a fine episode of the show. But if I were to show somebody this episode, I don't think they'd be like, okay, so what happens next? When does the next episode come out? I don't think they'd be like, oh, that was the end? Oh, bravo. I don't feel like someone would feel that way. Maybe you do, and let me know in the comments if that's you. And I take back all the shit talking I just did because you're awesome. But like, for real, like, that's just like, I'm just so caught off guard by the end of it, and again, I go back to the beginning. I'm very whelmed by this episode, and yeah, I guess that's where I'll just stop. There's not much else to say outside of thank you for joining me all season long to talk about each episode of Archdemon's Dilemma. This was a pretty good anime, just it didn't quite nail that ending, and I, much like a couple of other animes, this season specifically, this season has been a little interesting. If I were to remove this season, if I were to remove Mushoku Tensei and a couple of the other anime kind of holding up this season, it wouldn't be that good, and that's a little saddening. So I wish it would have nailed the end, and I wish we would have had a little bit more focus on Zagan and Nephy, just in specific, and maybe a little more focus on Shastil as well, if the intention down the light novel road is for her to be part of this harem thing that they have going. So, anyways, I'm very interested to know what you think about the show's ending. Are you impressed? Are you underwhelmed? Are you just like me? Are you just whelmed? Tell me about everything in the comments below. Interested to hear your last thoughts on this show. And of course, join me in the summertime, as this summer we're going to be watching a lot of other anime this season. All right, my friends, one love. I'll see you next season or on a different video review. So, all right, peace out.